Yeah, welcome everyone to the first of Clobby'S Comic Book Corner Spinnerack Time Machine, which looks like this. Yay! There we go. Hello, my good friends. This is going to be the first, and hopefully they will get better. I messed up the first time. I hope this one will work. It is great to see you all out there. I can't see you. This is not even live. It's going to be a recorded video. I'm so used to live streaming. Anyway. Here's what I got it set up for you here. We're going to go back 50 years to the month of September 1971. And the premise of these videos, and I try to keep them as short as I possibly can, is, basically comics of that era, the Bronze Age, were mostly purchased in, off of spinner racks like you see here. There were some comic shops, but not a whole lot of them. You had to go to the drugstore, the corner 7-Eleven or convenience store. And I would have been 7 years old. Look, even I, as old as I am, I would have been 7 years old. But I did buy comics back then. But we're going to treat this like I have taken a comic shop back in time to September of 1971. This is Clobby'S Comics Corner. The shop that I owned myself, I worked in a couple other ones, but the shop I owned myself in the late 80s was called Mega City Comics. I thought about using that name, but let's just call it Clobby'S Comics Corner because that's the one. Oh, that's what you all know me by, is Clobby, and I'm up here at Clobber in Times fame. And I really appreciate anyone who's seeing this video. What we're going to do is this. We're going to pretend like you're walking into Clobby'S Comic Shop and you've got a pull list. And for you comic collectors, I don't have to tell you what a pull list is. And every week you come in to get your new comics. On Wednesday, although this is Friday now because I'm a week behind, I'm going to do a second video this weekend. And then we're going to start doing this regularly every week on, Wednesdays in the afternoon. But right now, we've got a little catching up to do since this video is late. So basically, you come and you pick up your new comics. And just to give you a little example of how many comics came out then, how many comics were coming out at the time. This is a website right here called Mike's Amazing World. It's a blog site. It's an extraordinary one, in my opinion. And as you can see here, I'm going to scroll it a little bit. This is how many titles came out in the month of September of 1971. That's quite a lot of titles. At the time, there wasn't just Marvel and DC, not just the big two. There was Charlton, there was Gold Key, there was Harvey, there was Archie. There were Warren magazines put out comics, MF Enterprises. I mean, there was a lot of competition for your comic book buying dollar. And there were a lot of titles. And of course, it's not like today, the pathetic state that the industry is in today. This was and is, since we're a time machine now, we were back in 1971 September, a thriving comic book industry. The print runs were huge on these things, and there was a lot of varied type of material. So I thought, you can't cover all of this. So what I'm going to do is each week I'm going to pick out 9 books, 9 titles that I, as a comic book reader, if I were, with my today, I'm combining my today's sensibilities with my sensibilities back then, my buying habits. What comic books would I buy and single out that week? So we do 9 a week, and I'm have a cutoff point with that, with that week, and every week I'm going to show you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link to this page in my description of this video below, so you can go and look at all the comics that came out that month. You can also use their page to look out any month you want of any comic book that came out during your birthday or anyone else's, or any month if you want to see what comics came out on your birthday, that sort of thing. It's a great resource tool. I've always really enjoyed it. So I'm going to show you really quickly the 9 titles that I would have walked into Clobby'S Comics Corner into and had on my pull list that I would have bought. Yes, key to my taste, because I'm the only one here. But you could always, tell me in the comments below if you'd like which comics you would have picked that maybe I wouldn't have, because if you go to the site, you can see everything that came out. Cutoff point in this case for week 1, I'm going to call the cutoff point at Avengers number 94. So go from the beginning of that to there, And if it's whatever titles you would pick, it could be more than me, less than me. I'm just doing 9 because it came out when I did every week. It was about it came out over the 4 weeks. It came 999. So I just thought I would do it that way. Use 9, the number 9. Now now you know the premise. I'm going to go through this rather quickly. I'm going to show the titles that were available, and tell you not obviously not go into the details of the interior of the comic. Some of these I have not read for a long time. There are a couple that I probably never bought. So in other words, but right now I walk into Clobby'S Comics Corner to get the new week's comic books, and these are the ones I would pick. And again, everyone's different. Starting with, of course, Magnus Robot Fighter 4000 AD, number 29. I got the numbers reversed there, which was a reprint of Magnus Robot Fighter number 7. Story and art actually by Russ Manning, and the cover by Russ Manning. It was released the first day of September, and I always loved Magnus. I really kind of loved the way they handled him in Valiant. And Russ Manning was a great cartoonist. He was a great artist, and Magnus was a cool book. And it was, of course, published by Gold Key Comics. And so, yeah, that would be one of the ones I would pick up. And again, I don't have this comic, by the way, now. But, of course, I've seen it many times, and I would have picked it up. Another Gold Key comic I would have gone for would be Star Trek number 12. Doing the research on this one, I was floored. I didn't realize Lynn Wein had worked at Gold Key that much. But yeah, story by the great Lynn Wein, art by Alberto Giolitti, cover by George Wilson. And love those George Wilson painted covers on Star Trek and many, many, many other Gold Key comics of the era, the 60s and the 70s. Great stuff. And I would, if I were walking into my comic shop today, but in 1971, this is one I would buy off the rack. As is this one, because I'm a big Daredevil fan. I love me some pre-Miller Daredevil. I like Millers, don't get me wrong. But I love those days. And, of course, here you have a spiffy Daredevil number 82. Story by Jerry Conway. Art by the great Gene Colan. With inks by Jack Abel. And a cover by the great Gil Kane. And you heard a noise there because I didn't turn my phone off. Boy, oh boy. I can't believe I didn't do that. Sorry about that. But I'm going to leave it up on the video anyway because it's a natural video. I want it to feel like it's like a mini live stream for me. And because I can't do anything about it now, can I? I also would have picked up DC Special number 15 featuring Plastic Man. Of course, you can, I can for sure spot a Marvel or DC reprint of the time right off the bat. It's easy to see. Usually a lot of these DC specials, most of them were reprints. This is number 15. And it's, of course, all reprints of Jack Cole Plastic Man stories from Police Comics 13, 17, 25, and 26. The great Jack Cole, of course, is Classic Man. And his Plastic Man was just, great classic stuff. And so that would be a great cover by Dick Giordano. And this would be something I would pick up because I always love Plastic Man. So, and I, love Jack Cole. His work's amazing. Next, you have a Marvel reprint. Back then, the stands were flooded with reprints, as you will see from this segment. Fear, number 6, and it contains various Journey into Mystery and Tales to Astonish reprints. A bunch of Kirby, Lee Ditko, Liebers, Sinnott, Heck, Reinman, monsters, or actually suspense and science fiction and anthology stories. This was an anthology series. Before Thor popped up in Journey into Mystery, before Captain America and Iron Man inhabited Tales to Astonish, it was an anthology series of science fiction type stories, covered by the great Gil Kane, with inks by Frank Giacoia. And you know what? Maybe back then, I don't know if I'd have bought it as a youngster, but I'm a time traveler, remember? I would have definitely grabbed this one. Most people associate Fantastic Four reprints with Marvel's Greatest Comics, as it was once called. But actually, they first started doing it with Marvel Triple Action. I know, it's the FF. It should be Marvel Quadruple Action, huh? Don't ask me. This one, although it sports a John Buscema, Frank Giacoia cover, the interior is sheer classic. Couple of great Kirby classics, FF, Fantastic Four, 55, and also 57. They skipped one. Now, look, these reprints were meant to flood the stands. Marvel and DC were trying to flood the stands to choke off the competition like Charlton and Gold Key and all these others. And they were succeeding at the time, but that's another little conversation about comics history. Again, great art by Kirby and Sinnott on this one. This is Kirby, Stanley, Joe Sinnott classic. FF55, one of the greats. And of course, back now we have an original comic, in other words, not a reprint. Thor 194. Written again as by the aforementioned Jerry Conway. He got around back then, no question about it. Art by the great John Buscema, and one of the comics where his little brother Sal Buscema inked him. And this was, I love, John Buscema. I love the Kirby era of Thor, of course, but I really love the John Buscema run on Thor and having his little brother Sal. I'm a big fan of both Buscemas, really am. It is great stuff. And the cover, of course, by Big John Buscema and inked by the great John Romita. And of course, I do mean Romita Sr. Next up, we have Wonder Woman 197. Now, back then I didn't buy a lot of Wonder Woman very often. But since I'm a time traveler at Clobby'S Comics Corner, I'm going to go ahead and pick this one up. Because why not? Yes, it's reprints. It's funny, it's reprints of comics that were not that old. It's a strange thing, but of course, it's reprints of Wonder Woman 181 and 182. As you see, it's a 48-page giant. This one wasn't called a giant, but it's a big, it was a thicker comic, and it was only 25 cents yet. So, you got some value out of your comics back then with the 25 and the 20-cent cover prices. Story by the great, legendary Denny O'Neil, and by the great Mike Sikowski would be the pencils, with the great Dick Giordano on the inks and on the cover. Yeah, I say great a lot, but I love a lot of these guys. Denny O'Neil, Dick Giordano, legends, absolutely legends. And at number 8, we have the Amazing Spider-Man, number 103, just fresh off of that Morbius saga, right? And the 6-armed Spidey and all that stuff. Spidey in the Savage Land with Kazar. Or was it Kazar? Kazar. And Zabu. Of course, written by the great Roy Thomas, the rascally one himself. Art by the great Gil Kane. I say it a lot, but these guys are great. I love Gil Kane. I love his Spidey era. The Spidey run was fantastic. This one, just imagine picking this one up off the stand, as we're doing in our time machine, in our Spinner Rack comic time machine here. And so I love it. Great stuff. I love a Spidey run, Frank Giacoya, with inks, and of course, a Kane Giacoya cover. Could get much better than that. And finally, we have Avengers number 94. The Avengers 94, this is smack dab in the beginnings of the classic Kree Skrull War. Absolutely a terrific, one of the all-time great sagas of all of comics history. Of course, it's the Kree Skrull War, written by, again, the extraordinary. I say the great a lot. Sorry, just habit. But the rascally one himself, Roy Thomas. Art by Neil Adams. Yes, he's great. The great Neil Adams. Tom Palmer on Neil Adams was okay. I'm not the biggest Tom Palmer guy. I think a lot of people you out there might disagree, or Palmer fans. But his inks on Adams were okay. And of course, it was an Adams, Palmer, and Romita cover. So this will be number 9 of this group. And what a great, I mean, man, you got some classics in 1 week right there. Especially this one was an enduring classic, or part of one, a segment of one. So the Kree Skrull Wars, folks. So yeah, there you have it. Clobby'S Comics Corner, Spinner Rack Time Machine, part 1. And I'm going to try to have part 2 up by tomorrow, the next day. And then after that, it's going to start one segment at a time on Wednesdays, just to take that stroll. And again, down comic book memory lane in my time traveling comic shop. And there'll be a little bit shorter videos. I had to explain, of course. So I'm going to put the link to Mike's Amazing World, and hopefully it'll be that page. If I link it there, I'm going to link that page. So you already have September 71 there you could link to. And if you want to make the cutoff point Avengers 94, just to make it easy, and pick as many books as you would buy that week. And if you wanted to, I mean, you don't have to, but you could just go to that site and just look at them. But if you feel like putting in the comments some of the ones you would buy, or you can tell me what you think of my choices. Either way, I would like to hear from you. And I want to thank you all for watching this. And hey, I'll see you soon, clobberers. Clobber on and live long and prosper, my friends. And let me play. I love this intro outro. Go a big shout out to the wonderful Raquel R.M. Briggs for this wonderful intro outro. Take care, my friends.